Hello and welcome to my blog. Today we're going to talk about our physical world is actually created by thought. Now this is from chapter 43 of my book, Spirits and the Spirit Universe. Let's begin. In the spirit realm, thought is action. Thought creates, thought destroys, and thought is the reality. In our physical world, we believe that many discoveries and actions begin with thought, but in parallel with our human thinking. Our planet and our universe carries on, ruled by natural laws which dictate how stars are formed, planets are created, continents grow and collide, how the weather changes, how our very buildings stand, and eventually decay, all unaffected by human minds. The spirituality, the supreme intelligence, or God, whatever name one wishes to use, thought and the universe was created. Creation by force of will didn't end there. The spirit realm tells us that ideas still control and affect creation in our physical world. The Spirits book by Allan Kardec, written in the 1850s, codified the doctrine of Spiritism. Spirits transmitted their answers to questions posed by Allan Kardec to various mediums throughout Europe. Only when multiple mediums wrote similar answers to the same question, it entered into the Spirit's book. Jesus promised us the Consoler, the Spirit of Truth, to tell us more. Spiritism is that vehicle, the method whereby high spirits communicate to us new information about our purpose on earth, and how we migrate from spirit life to earthly life in our quest to improve. We are also presented with the basic tenets of how our entire cosmos was created and operates. Question 30 in the Spirits book asks the following. 30. Is matter formed of one element or of several elements? The answer is of one primitive element. The bodies which you regard as simple are not really elementary, they are transformations of the primitive matter. Hence, all matter, organic and inorganic, is composed of the same universal fluid. Our current science has postulated the same principle under the name string theory. According to Wikipedia, string theory is, the starting point for string theory is the idea that the point-like particles of particle physics can also be modeled as one-dimensional objects called strings. String theory describes how strings propagate through space and interact with each other. In a given version of string theory, there is only one kind of string, which may look like a small loop or segment of ordinary string, and it can vibrate in different ways. On distance scales larger than the string scale, a string will look just like an ordinary particle with its mass, charge, and other properties determined by the vibrational state of the string. In this way, all of the different elementary particles may be viewed as vibrating strings. In string theory, one of the vibrational states of the string gives rise to the graviton, a quantum mechanical particle that carries gravitational force. Thus, string theory is a theory of quantum gravity. String theory tells us there is no such thing as empty space. Strings are everywhere. The same information was supplied in the Spirit's book. Question 36. Does an absolute void exist in any part of space? The answer is no, there is no void. What appears like a void to you is occupied by matter in a state which escapes the action of your senses and of your instruments. The spirit world told us in the 1850s there is no such thing as an absolute vacuum. There is always something everywhere in our infinite universe. Spiritist literature also foresaw the advent of the Big Bang Theory. In the book Genesis, Miracles and Predictions According to Spiritism, in the section titled The Universal Creation, we are told by spirits communicating to Allan Kardec in the 1850s how it all began. The primitive cosmic matter contained the material, fluidic, and vital elements for all the universes that unroll their magnificence before eternity. It is the fertile mother of all things. the first grandmother, and what is more, the eternal generatrix. This substance from which all sidereal globes have come has not disappeared. This power is not dead, for it still gives birth incessantly to new creations and receives incessantly the reconstituted elements of the worlds that have been effaced from the book of eternity. The unrolling is the filling of our particle physical universe, from the primitive element bursting upon the scene, caused by the thought of God, to start the creation cycle. Over billions of years from the start of a tiny seed, galaxies, solar systems, planets, and life began. This one element is used for everything. We are told the ethereal matter, rarefied to various degrees, and which is diffused throughout interplanetary space, that cosmic fluid that fills the universe, rarefied to various degrees in the immense regions, rich in clusters of stars, condensed to various degrees where the stellar sky does not yet shine, modified to various degrees by different combinations according to their locations in the expanse, is nothing more than the primitive substance in which reside the universal forces from which nature has taken all things. Hence, from one element called universal fluid by Spiritists comes all matter. Gold, silver, water, and iron are made up of the same element. What we see as molecules and atoms, and the building block of atoms, which construct molecules, are all derivatives of the universal fluid. We are told this fluid penetrates bodies like an immense ocean. In it resides the vital principle that gives rise to the life of beings, and perpetuates it on each globe according to its condition, a principle which in its latent state lies dormant as long as no voice calls upon it. By virtue of this universal vital principle, every creature, mineral, plant, animal, or other, because there are many other kingdoms of nature whose existence you do not even suspect, knows how to appropriate the conditions for its existence and lifespan. This fluid is molded to become whatever it needs to be. It is transformed by thought. When the spirituality created the universe, he created it by thought to be composed of an element which is able to be formed into many combinations by thought and to follow logical rules, a type of programming the behavior of the object for all eternity, until a superior thought modifies it. This programming of the object is mentioned in the next paragraph in Genesis. It is very important to be aware of the idea that the primitive cosmic matter is endowed not only with the laws that ensure the stability of the worlds, but also with the universal vital principle that forms the spontaneous generations on each world to the extent that conditions manifest for the successive existence of beings, and when the hour sounds for the appearing of the children of life during the creation period. In summary, in the 1850s, Allan Kardec brought to us the concept of a unifying element, that which is the fountainhead of all matter in the universe, which is directed and ruled by thoughts from not only God, but from superior spirits, spirits who have been trained to create with their mind. We are on earth at this moment, surviving our trials, paying for our past debts, gaining new experiences, so one day we too may be worthy of manipulation of matter by our will. One may express doubts about the processes presented by spirits to the small group of pioneering spiritists first gathered by Allan Kardec, but we shall see that this message has been told thousands of years before Christ, from the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. In the beginning of Genesis, verses 1 and 2, comes the words, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters." But for many other religious texts, most started with an idea, a thought, an intent to create the world. Now, thanks to the Spirit of truth, as promised by Jesus in the New Testament, Spiritism is revealing more information about the creation of our universe. In the 20th century, we were given more to ponder. The Universe Explained. The structure of the physical and spiritual universe is revealed once again in the book Life Beyond the Veil in the Lowlands of Heaven section. The book was psychographed in the early 1900s. It was a communication to the Reverend G. Val Owen from Astriel in the spirit world that introduces the basis on which all objects are composed. Every star, as you know, is itself a center of a system which comprises in itself not only the planets in revolution round the star, but also the particles of matter which suffuse that system, but are too sublimated to be cognized by any system of chemistry which is possible to those who dwell in physical bodies, and in their research are compelled to use both material instruments and material brains. These particles are between the purely material and spiritual, and indeed may be used both in the physical and the spiritual economies, for the two are of merely two of many phases of one progressive economy, and act and react on each other like a sun and his planet. Astriel is restating the fact, accepted in the spirit realm, that everything flows from one source. We were told the same in Allan Kardec's Genesis in Chapter 6, which was dictated to the Parisian Spiritual Society in 1862 and 1863 by the spirit Galileo. In the beginning of the section titled Matter, he states, "Nevertheless, we can establish as an absolute principle the fact that all substances, known and unknown, no matter how dissimilar they may seem, whether from the inner composition point of view or from the aspect of their reciprocal action, are in fact nothing more than varieties into which it is transformed under the direction of the innumerable forces that govern it." Astriel is making clear that not only is our physical universe composed of universal fluid, but the spiritual realm is also made of variations of the prime element. Next, Astriel exposes how the transformation of the primary elements are accomplished and some of its properties. Gravitation is applicable to these particles also on both sides, and it is by means of this force, as we will call it, as being a name you know, and also very little understood, that we cohere these particles together and are able, from time to time, so as to clothe our spiritual bodies as to become visible to the photographic plate, and sometimes to the human eye. But we do more than this, and over a wider range. Were it not for these particles, all space would be dark. That is, no light would be able to be transmitted from planet or sun, or star to earth. For it is because of the reflection and refraction of these that the rays are visible, not that they are transmitted, for their transmission and passage depend on other elements of which we will now say no more than this. It is not the rays of light, nor is it the so-called light waves, which are visible to the human eye, but their action on these minute particles which, on the impact of these rays, become visible as waves. As string theory postulates that strings interact with each other and vibrate in different states, a high-order spirit has hinted at a similar process. Light doesn't travel in a beam, but flows like a wave across a tapestry composed of countless threads, acting and reacting to each other. As the threads vibrate, their intensity is revealed, and we can see the pattern of the carpet. Astriel notifies Val Owen that the spirit world doesn't wish to supply humankind with the answers, since the effort to advance scientifically is part of our collective endeavor, but they will give us hints as to what are the possibilities of further research. With this in mind, Astriel explains the basic underlying theme of our existence. The stars then send forth their light, but in order to send it forth they must first possess it themselves, and as they are not self-constituted personalities, in order that they may have it, they must be given it. Who does this, and how is it done? As they are not self-constituted personalities is the key concept to grasp. When Astriel speaks about the stars, powerful suns which generate immense energy, he implies that since they aren't distinct intelligent beings, they don't possess actual power. They are only channels for power. In our life, we playfully give personalities to inanimate objects. We personify that which we believe could represent human-like behavior. Children's cartoons exemplify this, such as the sun talking or the ocean inviting a child to swim. What Astriel is saying is that behind these, what we believe, are purely natural objects that operate via the laws of physics, are actual operators who have personally determined the operation of the object. Astriel now reveals the full extent of the power of the spirit realm. Now, of course, it is easy to answer God, for he is the source of everything. That is true enough. But as you know, he employs his ministers, and these are without number, and each unit with an allotted task. The stars receive their power of transmitting light from the presence of myriads of spiritual beings about them, all ordered and regulated in their spheres, and all working in conjunction. These have the stars in their charge, and it is from them that the energy proceeds, which enable the stars to do its appointed work. Let us think about what Astriel has said. There is an intelligent being behind the workings of the universe, pulling levers, starting and stopping, regulating and measuring what we see as the natural evolution of the cosmos. It is as if the mythology of the ancients came back to life, and Apollo's chariot really did bring the sun out every morning. Have we regressed into time-worn superstitions? No, for the spirits have told us that human advancement is like a spiral, not a straight line. That we must go through a materialistic phase, which de-emphasizes spirituality, in order to accomplish the scientific discoveries required to return to a balance between materialism and spirituality. The spirit world has determined that we are ready to relearn certain truths, that we are connected at a deeper level than most of us could comprehend to the spirit realm, that our ties to the earth, to wealth, are but temporary achievements. Our real goal is to better ourselves, to be prepared to take up the job of running the universe. If we didn't get the message at first, Astriel explains the true operation of our environment. What we want you to understand is that there is no such thing as blind or unconscious force in all God's kingdom of creation. Not a ray of light, not an impulse of heat, not an electrical wave proceeds from your sun or any other star, but is the effect of a cause, and that cause is a conscious cause. It is the will of some conscious being energizing in a certain and positive direction. These beings are of many grades and many species. They are not all of the same order, nor all of the same form, but their work is controlled by those above them, and these are controlled by powers of higher grade and sublimity still. In effect, we live in a universe, a solar system, a planet that is not only inorganic balls of fire and lifeless rock, for these are what we see. We can only detect the outside machinery. We can't see the workers behind the curtain, the massive effort to run, calibrate, and measure the output of the cosmos. In addition, we are incapable of deciphering the different types of beings which contribute to our welfare. Whatever our imagination supplies probably falls short of the reality. Astriel attempts to pull the curtain back so we may catch a glimpse of the legion that works for our benefit. And so these great balls of matter, whether gaseous or liquid or solid, whether star or comet or planet, are all held together, and their forces energize and given effect, not by the operation of some mechanical law, but by conscious live beings at the back of and working through those laws. We use the word conscious in preference of intelligent because the latter term would not accurately describe all the ministers of the Creator. As you understand the word, indeed, it would describe only a very limited number. And it may surprise you to know that those to whom you would apply the term are those which stand between the lower and the higher. For while the lower workers are not really beings of intelligence, the higher are more sublime than the term would imply. Hence, the higher the level, the more connected you are to God, as to finally discard your human form and become one with the supreme intelligence, where there is no delineation between male and female, race, nor any other measure that we are so fond of, only an unimaginable will, a force so omnipotent that it approaches the one who created all. Astriel ties it all together to demonstrate, to show us how all of what he has presented affects our daily life. Now you will, from what we have already written, be able to see how intimate is the relationship between spirit and matter, and when the other evening we spoke of your own church building, and the allotting of guardians and workers, among other things, for the care of the material edifice, we were only telling you of the same principle at work on a minute scale. Nevertheless, it is the same principle exactly. The scheme which provides for the upkeep of all those millions of suns and of their planets took note also of the rearrangement of certain congeries of atoms, some in the form of stone, others wood or brick, which resulted in the new entity you call a church. These are held together, each atom in its place, by the outflowing power of will. They are not placed there and left solitary. Were this done, the building would soon crumble away and fall to pieces. And now, in the light of what we have written, think of what people call the difference of feeling on entering a church or a theater or a dwelling house or any building. Each has its own suitable emanations, and these are in consequence of this same principle at work, which we have tried to describe. It is spirit talking to spirit, the spirits of the discarnate workers speaking, through the medium of the material particles and their arrangement and purpose, to the spirits of those who enter that place. All that is made is alive in the wishes of those who created it, whether by incarnates or discarnates in spirit form. Our feelings are more rooted in reality than we give them credit for. When we gaze upon a building that speaks to our inner soul, we are connecting with the other side. We are experiencing a harmony in affinity with the inclinations of the spirit realm. This is why beauty is universal, a trait understood by the Greeks before the time of Socrates. The mathematics of the symmetry of the object and the care in which it was fashioned hits us on a subconscious level. For only through our spirit feelings can we momentarily connect with the life we will return to after our physical bodies have completed their set of trials on earth. If you are interested in learning more about spirits and the spirit universe, and how our world really is, and part and a subset of the spirit universe, please read my book, Spirits and the Spirit Universe. It is book 2 of a series of 3 books. The first book is Heaven and Below, and this is from chapter 43 of the second book, Spirits and the Spirit Universe. It will tell you what type of life you are really living, who you are, and in what place you stand within the complete spirit universes. Book 3 is How We Are Guided by Spirits and the Future of Earth. God bless.